The following is a presentation of Muddy River News.
TI Trust stands for True Integrity. One of our core values that we had for our staff was integrity.
We want to be seen as a very integrity-driven company.
We've been doing trust services as an organization since the 1950s. It's all based on what's in the best interest of the clients.
At the end of the day, it's about serving that client and getting to a result that they need.
Hi, I'm Ron Kincher with Muddy River News, and this is a Business Spotlight brought to you by TI Trust. And today we are joined by Carol Rakers with Creative Garden Services. Thanks for coming along.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
It's a great time of year to talk to you. You're ramping up, aren't you?
We really are, yeah.
So when you were a little girl, growing up, is this what you had planned to do with your life, or were there other aspirations?
I think I had other aspirations. I had planned to be a forest ranger.
Oh, you had?
Yeah.
So something outdoorsy, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely outdoors.
Okay, so you started this in the early 80s, right?
I did.
So how did this all come about? How did Creative Garden Services get started?
Well, when I was a kid, after high school, I went to school for forestry.
Okay.
And I got an associate's degree in forest technology.
Right.
And then I met a guy.
Okay.
And he ended up bringing me to Illinois.
Okay.
And when I came to Quincy, the forest was corn and soybeans.
Okay. So how did this develop, though? I mean, you obviously had to make a conscious decision to get into something like this.
I did, yeah. So I out of desperation, I basically started looking at other ways that I could work outdoors, and I went to work for Bergman Nurseries.
Okay, and it spun off of that then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I worked for them from 85 until 98.
Okay.
And then I started on my own.
So 98 is when you started Creative Garden Services?
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so, gosh, that's 25 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now when you started, was it just by yourself at that point?
Yeah, it was. Just me, pickup truck, and a wheelbarrow.
And a shovel, huh?
Shovel.
So what did you do at the beginning?
Well, my intention at the beginning was to do just maintenance, weeding and taking care of people's gardens, planting their spring flowers and vegetables, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And every job I went to, they asked me to do a little bit more.
Okay.
Will you put in a pond for me? Can you build a retaining wall? Well, I'm one of those people that if you ask me, I think I can do it.
Right, and you don't say no.
I don't say no.
Okay.
I'm starting to learn that word, but it's been a hard word to learn.
Yeah. So where did you grow up at then?
North Carolina.
But there's not a lot of forests, are there?
Oh, yeah.
I guess it depends on where
Tons of them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So do you spend a lot of time as a youth in forests?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
We did a lot of camping when I was a kid, and I loved being outdoors.
Okay. And now you get to spend a lot of time outdoors, obviously.
It is, and it's a good career. I enjoy being outdoors.
So the winter months, you just came off the winter months, and are you still busy during the winter months, or is it pretty much like an 8-month-a-year type vocation?
It's about a 10-month.
10 month, okay.
Yeah. So January, I spend the early part of January taking down Christmas lights. Because I don't know if you know it, but we put up Christmas lights.
Yeah, that's
too.
amazing too. Yeah. So you do corporate and commercial and home Christmas lights?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So January you start taking them down.
It's January we start taking them down. I've still got one left to take down.
Okay. So do you reduce staff then during the winter months?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many full-time employees do you have?
Full-time for a landscaping company,
Right.
full-time is anybody that works more than 35 hours for 9 months of the year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, so I have 9 full-time employees.
Okay.
I work everybody up until the middle of December.
Okay.
Then I go down to 1 or 2 crews to get me through the middle of January.
Okay.
Everybody's off from the middle of January to the 1st of March.
Okay. So you do both. So you started, I'm assuming, just with home, correct? You were taking care of homes when you first started in 98?
True.
Okay. Then how did the commercial side happen?
Well,
Just people asking?
Just people asking, yeah. Most of your homeowners work someplace and
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
They'll ask, can you take care of my office? Or, I got in with Quincy Medical Group. Ooh, boy, it's been at least 10 years ago. But I knew one of the gals that worked there, and who is now the CEO, Carol Rakers.
Right.
And she got me in the door to begin with. And then I've just, continued to work with them. At Napa Manufacturing, I work for Aaron and Bo and at home, and Ann at her home. And from there, I, got into the plant.
Yeah. So you started out gardens and stuff along those lines. Do you still do that type of work, or has it grown? Okay, so you still do that type of stuff.
Absolutely. That's the bread. Maintenance is the bread and butter.
Bread and butter. Okay.
It really
and then
is.
do you do any construction?
Yeah.
So what type of construction do you guys do?
Well, construction as in we do hardscapes, we'll do patios,
That's what I
outdoor
meant, yeah.
kitchens, retaining walls.
Okay, so you do outdoor kitchen. So where do you draw the line and say, okay, that is something we can't do in your backyard? Like, do you do pergolas? Do you do?
Okay, well, I would contract out a pergola.
Okay.
And even the masonry work, I don't have masons on staff, but I have good connections with masons.
Okay.
So when I bid a job, I include that in with my job.
Okay.
So it becomes part of my job, and even a pergola, but I do subcontract that part out.
So how does it generally? So you get a phone call and say, let's say it's me. You get a phone call. Hey, Carol, my wife and I. It's probably gonna be my wife. We're thinking about doing this in the backyard.
Right.
You come over, and then does generally the project expand from there based on your experience, or how does that engagement work?
What happens is we have a conversation, kind of
Right.
like we are right now, and I talk about, what do you want to have in this backyard? What are you planning to use it for? Do you have kids at home?
yeah.
Grandkids. You got older kids that you guys meet here every Sunday for dinner. Just kind of give me an idea of how you use your yard or how you want to use your yard.
Right.
How you in your mind see, like, I've got this yard, this patio is way too small. We don't do anything back here, but it is a pretty nice yard.
Right.
And I'd kind of like to stay home a little more. I'm not going to spend as much traveling this year.
Right.
COVID was huge for that because people weren't traveling; they were staying home. So then the staycation became home.
Right.
And people have gotten kind of used to that stay home mentality. I mean, everybody likes to travel, but now if you've got your own little oasis at home.
So you saw business pick up then over the course of the pandemic?
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The landscape industry overall did.
Uh-huh.
It was a big year for landscaping.
So is there anything you say no to when it comes to the backyard?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like I'm assuming you don't do swimming pools or
I do landscaping around
swimming pools. Okay.
And I'll even help you plan your swimming pool.
Okay.
But I don't put in the pool.
Oh, gotcha. Now, how often do you hear stupid ideas from people? And how do you handle that situation?
I usually try to, when somebody tells me something that's not realistic, I try to explain to them why it won't work. And without shooting them down, I'd like to offer them an alternative.
Have you thought about this idea? Does that come up a lot?
It does, yeah. Maybe we could go about it this way rather than, doing it that way, because that way is not really going to work. It's just not reasonable.
So how often do you get people wanting to, and this is what I would do. I'm envisioning being having a conversation with you, asking to put in things that aren't good for this climate. Does that happen a lot?
Well, not a lot, but I do. People have been on vacation, like they just get back from Florida, and they saw this great hibiscus bush, but they want something that's hardy that they're never going to have to take care of.
Right.
Yeah, and so I have to tell you, I just have to educate you that that plant won't work for what you're wanting to do. It's a great annual, but it's not a perennial.
Okay. Now, first of all, what's the difference between annual and a perennial?
An annual is a 1 year, lives its entire life cycle in one season.
Okay. So it only lives 1 year.
Right.
The perennial comes back every year.
Perennial comes back year after
I
year.
always get those two mixed up. Are there go-to bushes, plants, things like that are great for our area? Not to spill any secrets, but
No, there are. There's a lot of them, really. We are a Zone 5B.
What's that mean?
Well, and the USDA does a zone map that tells you, your high temperature and your low temperature and what plants will do best within those zones.
Okay.
Okay. We're a 5B. St. Louis is a 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Just
so,
because it's a little bit further
right,
south.
Florida's a 9. So
Okay.
the lower you go, the warmer it gets, the higher the number is. And that kind of determines what plants will do best in your zone.
Okay.
So we can get by with some 6s in a protected area.
Okay.
And we can definitely do 5A, 4s, some 3s. Once you get up in the low numbers, like Wisconsin would be a 3.
Gotcha.
Okay, especially northern Wisconsin. We might not be able to grow something there because we're too hot in the summertime.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, how do you bill for your services? Is there a design fee? I guess you're coming over to my house and I say, hey, we need something. We come up with a game plan.
Right. For a new customer, I do charge for design.
Okay.
And then if that customer decides to go forward with my services and buys what I'm designing and quoting for, then I would credit that back to that customer.
Okay.
For my established customers, I do a lot of that kind of stuff that I just do it. It's, you're on board. I know you. We've got a good relationship, and I know that you're not just shopping me.
Do you warranty your stuff?
No. Well,
that would be hard. I would
That's
think.
kind of a gray area because yes and no. I mean, I don't warranty things like annuals, something that you have to be there to water. Okay?
Right.
But like when we put in trees and shrubs.
Okay, I see that. Yeah.
Trees and shrubs, I'm going to put them in. And I'm going to plant them right. And I'm going to give you good instructions to take care of them.
Okay.
Okay. Then it's on you to take care of it.
I was just going to ask you. Yeah.
Let's say you do take care of it, but the plant still doesn't make it. And that does happen. Not real often, but it does happen. And if it happens within the first 6 months, I'm just going to come and replace that plant.
But if you're dealing with a moron like me,
with you, I have to charge you double at the beginning.
Do you have a list? Do you leave behind a list? Like, okay, Ron, every Thursday at 2 o'clock,
I can.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
Yeah,
So,
I can. If you need that much guidance, I can write it all down for you, and I can make you a calendar, basically, to tell you what to do and when to do it.
And you'd put it in my phone, so the alarms would go off, and I know exactly
Hold
what
on,
to
I'm
do.
going to go, that part might be on you.
So how often do you get asked about natural methods of keeping rabbits out of my garden or squirrels out of my bird, stuff along those lines? Is that a part of your design work?
The one I get the most is moles.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to know how to get rid of moles. And moles, especially this year when we had no frost in the ground.
Right.
They were active all winter long.
Right.
And you're really seeing the results of those. If I knew how to get rid of moles that worked,
we wouldn't be talking probably.
You and I wouldn't be talking.
Right.
I'd be living someplace high on the hog.
There are natural methods to keep rabbits out of gardens and things along those.
There
There
are ways to discourage rabbits and squirrels. Nothing's foolproof.
I found that out with my bird feeders. Yes, we've had that discussion before.
Yeah, and if you feed birds, you're going to have rabbits and squirrels.
Right. What is the one thing people generally screw up the most when they do it themselves in a garden or a backyard?
Putting the wrong plant in the wrong place.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So,
planting too close to the house.
That matters then.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because of the shade situation or because of access to water?
Being able to get the air circulation around a plant, just being able to trim a plant when it's too close to the house.
I mean, how important is it to trim a plant?
It's important.
See, you're telling me why nothing grows in my yard. So obviously,
I'm gonna have to keep notes on all these things.
We're gonna have a conversation.
Ron. Yeah.
So there is regular maintenance that needs to take place.
There is, yeah.
Okay, that's something you guys provide
and that's
too, right?
That's something that we do. And so, like, even with you, you're busy. You don't have time. You're going on vacation. Your wife doesn't want to fool with it. We take care of those things. We can come over there once a month and weed and fertilizer, water, do whatever needs to be done.
So you would suggest that would be done monthly then, or is it quarterly, or does it depend on what you got?
It depends on the customer and what you got. It really does, because I have jobs that I'm on every week.
Okay, it would be daily for my house, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Well, it wouldn't, because you'd be surprised. Once you get ahead of it, it's pretty easy to maintain.
Right.
And I use my own house as kind of a test ground for maintenance. So when I put something in the ground that first year, I might water it maybe every 3 weeks or so if I think about it.
Right.
But it's kind of, if it makes it through my yard, I know I've got a really
So your yard is like the experiment. That's your laboratory.
It is, yeah.
So just
test ground.
Reviewing what you guys provide. So maintenance is how you all got this started. So
we don't mow.
You don't? Okay, so
mow.
you do basic landscaping. So that would entail plants, flowers, bushes, trees, things along those lines. And then you will do some construction. So you do retaining walls, patios, but you'll basically talk to anybody about anything for their front and or backyards.
It's outside, yeah.
If it's outside, you'll take, and then if you can do it, obviously you say yes, and then you make contracts on people.
And even like if you're building a new house, where to put your sidewalks or how to line up your driveway or even how to orient your house on the lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be happy to.
Okay, and then for corporate businesses, it's basically the same type of situation. Now, it might be a larger scale type thing.
Yeah, on your commercial businesses, they're going to go with a landscape architect. I'm a landscape designer. I don't have the 4-year degree to be a landscape architect. Got a lot of experience, and I know my plants really well, but I don't have the degree hanging on the wall that says I'm a landscape architect. So an engineer is going to go with a landscape architect. And then that landscape architect doesn't do any of the other work.
Okay.
They hand the plan off to the owner.
Gotcha. And do you have one you partner with? Like, let's say Ron Muddy River calls you and says, hey, will you come over? I'm sorry, I'm not an engineer, but I do know Steve that can come over. Do you have relationships with engineers that you can point people in the right direction?
I could, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you need a landscape architect, yeah, I know enough of them that I could get you lined up with somebody.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
How would people get a hold of you?
It's you can call my office phone. That's 217-222-1372.
And your website is?
Is creativegardenservices.com.
Well, Carol, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, and I'm also looking for help. I'm going to plug that in real quick.
Oh, you are?
I am. And landscaping is a great career.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming by. All right. That's Carol Rakers. This has been the TI Trust Business Spotlight. I'm Ron Kincher from Muddy River News.
TI Trust stands for true integrity. One of our core values that we had for our staff was integrity.
We want to be seen as a very integrity-driven company.
We've been doing trust services as an organization since the 1950s. It's all based on what's in the best interest of the clients.
At the end of the day, it's about serving that client and getting to a result that they need.
Muddy River News. Our home, our news.